This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. Tonight is Tuesday, September 3rd, our regular meeting at 5 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order there, Mr. Simcoe.
Yes, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
Ms. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Genowine? Here.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Approval of the minutes from August 20th. Any questions? Make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Any additions or deletions on the agenda this evening? So we have a deletion for the Metro Parks. Is that true still? Okay. Hearing of the public. Anybody signed in? Do we have anybody signed in?
No.
We good?
I'm signed in.
I'm sorry?
I'm signed in.
Oh, somebody signed in? Yes.
Hello?
Yep, we got you here. Just 1 second, please.
Good. Okay. Just wanted to make sure there's a connection.
Thank you for attending. Who are you, just for the record, if you don't mind, please?
Sure. Name is Tim Bauer, B-A-U-E-R.
Tim Bauer. Okay.
Why don't you get an address?
Hey, Tim, what's the address, please, of where you live?
4624 Sunny Street Lane.
Sutton's Creek? Okay.
Sunny Creek.
I'm sorry, Sunny Creek. Sorry.
Yeah, the audio is not perfect, but I'll slow down.
Is it something, Tim, again, thanks for coming. Is it something you wanted to address prior to the agenda today, or is it something on the agenda related?
No, I'm not aware of what the agenda is, so whenever you can accept comments from the public, I'm a member of the public, so whenever it fits into your agenda, that's fine. I'll wait.
Okay. Well, it just goes, let's see here, sorry. It will be item 14, so hang with us, Tim, okay?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then item 7 is the Metro Parks, we're scratching that. And then Daryl, you're coming in at 5:30 for a public hearing. All right, and then do you want to do any of your abatements now, Daryl, or you want to wait till 5:30?
That's the board.
Why don't we do it?
Yeah, why don't we just, yeah. Evening.
Resolution 24-158 is abatement of vegetation and/or debris for 5 properties.
Any questions on that, you guys? All of our resolution 24-158, abatement of vegetation or debris?
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Daryl. We'll see you in a few. Rob, come on down.
Well, that's all.
It's all part of the public hearing stuff. Yeah. Good question, though. Hi, Rob.
Good evening. I have one resolution, resolution 24-154, asking authorization to offer conditional employment to Darren Osmond. We had a mechanic retire and we're filling that position. We interviewed several candidates and Darren is the best qualified candidate for the position.
All right, any questions on Daryl, guys? I'll offer resolution 24-154, the employment of Darren Osmond.
I'll second.
Calling the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thanks, Rob. Chris, come on down. Jeff, come on down. Evening.
Good evening, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
Good. Have one resolution, 24-160. This is a agreement to enter into a contract with, I'm sorry, I lost my spot. Office of Budget Management to receive the funds that we were granted on July 26th in the amount of $485,000 towards the capital improvements in the tower project. Since this was a lesser amount than we actually applied for, we're in the process of working with Colliers to adjust the scope and the financials, so those will be forthcoming, but this is lets us to enter into that agreement and secure that money.
Questions? I'll offer resolution 24-160 to enter into a grant agreement with the Office of Budget and Management.
I'll second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty, thanks, Jeff. Oliver, come on down. Evening.
Good evening, trustees and fiscal officer Simcoe. First item under the administrator section is a public hearing for street lighting and waterside Sylvania Plat 11.
I'll open a public hearing at 5:10 with regards to Waterside Plat 11. And anybody would like to comment, good, bad, or indifferent? I'll close the hearing at 5:10 and offer resolution 24141, approve street lighting for Waterside Plat 11.
I'll second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Next item is resolution 24-159, authorization to remove an insecure, unsafe, or structurally defective building located at 8990 Brent Road. This property has been under review for several months by the township. Sylvania Township Fire Department, working with LKL Engineers, has completed a structural analysis on the property, and the resolution would declare the property as being insecure, unsafe, or structurally defective. If it were to be approved by the trustees, I would send a notice to the property owner that it would be removed within 30 days. The property owner would have the option to request a hearing in writing if it's submitted within 20 days of the action or the notice. I'm glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
I'll offer resolution 24159, removal of 8990 Brent Road.
I'll second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, what else we got there? Oh,
Sure. Last resolution is 24-163, a resolution to accept and agree upon recommendations from the Healthcare Committee. The resolution that's in front of the trustees at this time would continue with Allied as the administrative services. With their arrangement for administrative services, currently a third-party administrator, it would also continue our stop-loss coverage with Brownstone with a maximum annual contribution increase of approximately 3.66%. And as in years past, when the IRS has adjusted its HSA and other limits, this would adjust those limits in line with the IRS updates and would also adjust the contributions into the HSA by the township. We do have Jeff Barneski with Highland here tonight to answer any very specific questions the board may have, but also glad to answer any questions that may be in front of the board.
questions, anybody? I'll offer resolution 24163, a resolution to accept and agree upon the recommendations from the Healthcare Committee.
Second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Oliver. Dave, you're up.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Well, this is just July. You all had a chance to look at the July analysis, the month-end analysis for July, and we're actually doing fairly well. We will be getting some additional money. You notice the general fund is maybe down a little bit, but we will have money coming in the second half. Monies are being sent to us by the county auditor, and we do have some interest income that'll come in to the general fund at year end. So I think we're doing well. If there's no questions, I'll move to resolutions.
Sounds good.
Okay, I offer resolution number 24-161. It's transfer of appropriations. You can see them there. It's $2,500 and $765 that we would be passing on this resolution. And I think you've all had a chance to see them, so I ask you to approve resolution 24-161.
Any questions? I'll offer resolution 24-161, transfer appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
And then I have resolution 24-162, township appropriation from unencumbered balance. And if you notice, there's a number of things on this resolution. And again, rather than go through all of them, I believe that you've had a chance to look at them. And so if there aren't any questions, I'd ask you to approve resolution 24-162.
Questions? I'll offer resolution 24-162, township appropriation from encumbered balance.
I'll second.
Calling the roll, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. We have an appointment. Mr. Crandall was part of the investment committee vacancy. Joe, would this be something you have an interest in learning about the finances of our operations and how that all works? Okay.
Absolutely.
So Jill Johnson will be in the,
Okay.
put her in that spot with you, Dave, and yeah, it's a good thing. We've both have served on it and it's been good, so. Okay, the hearing of the public. So Tim, can you still hear us okay?
Just fine, thanks.
Okay, thanks. I'd love for you, again, thanks for coming. What can we do to help?
Well, I'm going up the chain of command, and you're my last stop. And I'll get to the
Okay.
summary first. I can fill in 2.5 to 3 years of details if you want, but the purpose of my call is to express to you my dissatisfaction with the lack of enforcement of the zoning code with regard to all of the hundreds of signs in the township roads right away. Does this ring a bell?
Yes and no, but yes, keep going. Thanks.
Okay. I lived in the township for 6 years, and it's been a constant problem. It's one of my pet peeves that no matter where you go, there's these ridiculous, I call them blight, signs right away. There's hundreds of them. And the worse it gets, the worse it gets. It's been 2.5 to 3 years that I have attempted to work with the zoning inspection department to solve the problem. I've emailed him a couple of dozen times, providing specific locations of these signs, and nothing gets done. Had 2 conversations with him, and he expressed to me that, to my surprise, it's a one-man operation in that office. And, you know, stop me if I'm telling you something you don't know, and I don't want to take up too much of your valuable time, but he expressed that he doesn't have time to go out and patrol the township to enforce the zoning code with regard to these signs. And I was surprised to hear that. I would think that, as I said to him, send someone out on your large staff to pick up these signs and educate the violators. And if they continue to do it, cite them. Well, he again expressed, I don't have time to do that. I can't leave my office. I'm only part-time, I think he said. I don't have time to worry about these signs. So that's where it's been for the 2.5 or 3 years that I've been attempting to work with him to solve it. No progress, no improvement. And the more there are, the more there are. I suggested to him, I've got 3 proposed solutions for you. Number 1, give me a township ID badge and an orange pickup truck, and I'll go out and pick up these signs. And for every sign I deliver to the township roads department, I want to be paid $4. Now, I said that somewhat facetiously, but that was a suggestion. I know that's not going to happen. The second suggestion I gave to him was hire somebody, a seasonal employee, ideally a high school person or a college person, or even a retired guy like me that could work from April to October and have the sole responsibility to pick up these signs and educate the violators so that the township is free of this blight. And he said, well, that's a good idea, but I don't have the budget for that. I don't have the money for that. Again, it's a one-person operation, and I can't do that. Well, that amazed me also, because we're not talking about much money, I don't think. So the third suggestion I have for him was, if you can't fulfill your job description and the responsibility to enforce the zoning code, then how about transferring that responsibility to the streets department, who is out there every day with their orange pickup trucks, and it'd be no big deal, I don't think, to, whenever they see one, to pick it up, throw it in their truck, and, you know, have the zoning inspection department or somebody contact the violator and educate them so that it doesn't keep happening, because we've got a lot of serial violators. Well, he said, I don't have the budget to hire anybody. To transfer responsibility to the streets department. Like me, they're overworked and underpaid too. So this is the impasse we've had for the 3 years that I've been working on it. I called Oliver a couple of months ago. We had a nice conversation, and I expressed this all to him. And he said, well, I'll look into it, and I'll talk to him and see if we could come up with something. I have not had any follow-up to that conversation. As part of that conversation with Oliver, he asked me for specific locations of these signs. And I said, well, I've done that for 2.5 to 3 years in an effort to move this along. It has had no effect, but I gave him 2 or 3 locations of, you know, multiple signs, typically the intersections, and so they could follow up on it. And that rang a bell when I was talking with Oliver that we've got the property, an abandoned derelict house at the corner of Mitchell and Brent. Is that the house that you just addressed in your agenda?
Yes.
8990 Brent?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Great. And he said, well, yes, we're aware of that. And that's one of the items that I talked with the zoning inspector about. And he said, we're working with that owner. Well, I don't know what working with the owner means, but it's been sitting there for at least 6 years, probably a lot longer than that, without any evidence of it being addressed. So I'm glad to hear that on your otherwise exciting agenda, that was on there, and there apparently is some progress to address that. Correct?
You're exactly right, Tim.
Okay. Just a couple of other things. I forgot to say at the beginning, thank you to all 3 of you for everything you do for the township. And I know it's a big job. It's probably, for the most part, a thankless job, but we do appreciate your service. At least I do. And I want to take this opportunity to also compliment the Sylvania Township Police Department and the Fire Department. Every chance I get to talk to one of those fellows, I compliment them on the service that they provide. It's just wonderful. And I'm very happy living in the township. But this particular issue really bugs me. And I think it's frankly embarrassing for the township. So to summarize, in my conversation with Oliver, the other property that I specifically mentioned to him was the abandoned, fire-damaged commercial structure at the corner of Silica and Sylvania. And this probably hopefully rings a bell with you too. That's been sitting there for I don't know how many years. There's vehicles abandoned there. There's a couple of boats abandoned there. It's a blight. And I don't know what action can be taken or has been taken, but I don't see any progress, any evidence of somebody working on solving that problem. So here I am. I've gone up the chain of command, and I'm throwing this at you because nothing is happening. I'm done.
Well, I'm glad I'm not done because I agree with you. So, I mean, we we've got other people on the board here. I can tell you, Tim, I remember yesterday during COVID, we were pretty lax on the sign locations because we were worried about businesses going out of business. But I personally don't disagree with you one bit. And, you know, I think if you could let us circle the wagons here and get back to you, we will get back to you. And let us put, hopefully a plan that you're acceptable with, but just let us take we now been called, we now understand. So I appreciate you spending time to talk to us about it.
No problem. Happy to do it, and I will work with you any way I can. As I said to him, this shouldn't cost much money. If budget is a problem, I shouldn't think it'd be a huge problem to create or find the funds to hire a seasonal employee for 3 days a week to take care of this problem. It's not really that much of a problem in the winter. And I would expect all three of you would have, this would have rang a bell when I expressed it to you, because you drive around the township too and see it. And I just came back on my path today on Sylvania Avenue, and there's another 8 brand new signs in front of Saxon Square advertising the new pharmacy. Sylvania Pharmacy is going to open. Well, they're right there in the right of way. The assisted living campus on Mitchell Road is a serial violator. And Dean, I did take care of that in some minimal respect. But they now have installed a permanent large wood billboard right on the edge of the pavement, advertising their new plat. I mean, it's a risk to the traveling public on Mitchell. And just one other thing, I've taken upon myself to contact 3 or 4 of these chronic violators and express to them that their signs are illegal and would appreciate them being removed. And to my surprise, a couple of them did. They said, well, I didn't know that, because, they see everybody else doing it. They think it's okay. And to my observation, these power wash guys and we buy houses guys, and I don't know if there's any exception in the zoning board for the realtors, but they're all over the place too. And they say that everybody else doing it. Well, they don't have any sense. They think, well, I can do it too. It's abrasive. So you've got, again, brand new signs going up, and I don't think it'd be too much of a problem to solve. If Dean can't do it, I don't expect him to personally do it. I mean, he's management. You should be able to hire somebody to do it at a relatively low cost, and that would be pretty effective. Well, thank you.
We'll come back with a plan.
Good.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Gail Dowling. Hi, Gail.
Hello.
And Gail, you're at 5056 Corey Road.
I am.
Okay.
I have had a lot of extra expense because everything that goes on in the country, as well as all of you. And the one thing that aggravates me every time I pay my health insurance, my supplemental health insurance, my auto insurance, and my car insurance is that I am penalized because the township does not have its own zip code. Because we are Toledo, we are lumped in the city of Toledo. I have offered to show my county records and to send them, scan them, deliver them, whatever way that they want, and nobody wants to do that. And if you send it and I use Sylvania, then it is cheaper, and every single thing. Today I got my house insurance for the next year that's due in October. It went up 60%. 60%. And the bill is $2,500. And because I live in the city of Toledo, part of that is being penalized. I'm being penalized because we don't have our own zip code. And the United States Post Office is not running very efficiently in our area, because when I paid my real estate taxes, I walked into the post office on January 31st, handed it to the postal worker to make sure that it was going to go through. And I was amazed to get a letter from when I got my taxes that for the first time in my 80-year-old life, I had a penalty for not paying it on time. And I thought, well, what is going on?
Sure.
So what is going on and what I hope is reported to the rest of the community is that they have a new system. Because they send our mail in Sylvania, I took it to the Sylvania post office, because they send it to Michigan,
Detroit, yeah.
Sylvania does not stamp it on the day that it's mailed. That is a new thing, because they have done that for decades and now they don't. And so for me, that amounted to a $260 penalty. When I called, they were like, oh, this is the first time, so we'll waive it. I said, no, you don't understand it. I said, I don't want that on my record either. I want you to understand that I delivered it. So I had to fill out the paperwork, mail it to them, and wait. They were very efficient. They came back, they took away the penalty. But that is probably on my tax bill forever. And that really, really annoys me. Plus the fact that it's not fair. When you do something on the day, you don't expect that they're going to wait till it goes to Detroit and then they're going to stamp it. The post office receiving it should stamp it. So I have no compulsion in telling you that they need, we shouldn't be afraid to approach the United States Post Office and say, we want our own zip code, or we want it attached to Sylvania, not to Toledo. And there are over 50,000 people in Sylvania Township. Not all of them qualify for paying their bills. There are 11 townships in Lucas County alone. And not only, I didn't even do the state, but every one of those people who buy insurance and for any reason, in any capacity, are paying too much. So I'm asking for help from the township to begin some process and bring it to the attention, because it can be changed. It's a very simple thing. Either Toledo 43623 has a Sylvania Township zip code that then goes to them, just add it. I have a son who is a vice president, corporate vice president, IT for an investment company. It's all in the coding. So there's simply code. You have an address to Sylvania Township, Ohio, and give us our own zip code, but just have it added to 43623 or 43617, whatever it is. It's a simple thing, but it will save us all money.
Hey, Oliver, Ottawa Hills has got the same problem. They're Toledo.
Yeah,
My Clover Township, every township has, I hear you, by the way. I'm not disagreeing with you one bit.
I would check with your insurance agent, because they should be able to determine where your house is. And Sylvania Township has one of the best protection classes out there. So we do benefit from our great fire and police service, and any insurance agent in this area should be able to factor
Now, I'm
that in.
sorry to tell you, they don't. And more, because insurance is so expensive, people are buying it online. They don't have an insurance company in Sylvania, but whoever they are.
That's a good plug for your local agents.
The people who underwrite the insurances are not willing to make compromises for people who live in townships. It's as simple as that, Mr. Genowine. They don't do it. And so you are paying
I worked in the
more.
industry for 30 years, and they do, and you just have to make them aware. And when they, it should be there. I'm not sure on the Medicare and that sort of stuff, but it's out there. And both Neil and I live in 2-3, and Dave does too. And, I don't know how much we could have influence over this, but it may take a little extra work on your part. And like I said, that's a good plug for local agents, because they are aware of the differences. And like Neil just said, we're not the only one out there. Ottawa Hills, they've actually had Toledo Fire. So,
So you're basically saying that you're
We can
unwilling
look
to
into
look
it, but
at any of this thing, because I'm here to tell you, I've owned a house since I was 20 years old. And in this situation, I'm being penalized, and they don't care. They don't care. They're not going to take the extra step to go through that, whoever they are. And I've been quoted all over the place, so I understand that. But I was hoping that, what is the issue? Why are we not proud of Sylvania Township? Do we not want to say when I give a mailing address?
I would imagine the Ohio Revised Code addresses this to some extent or something. I mean, because again, we're not the only one in the area that faces these issues, but we can look into it. I really, like you said, it's all in the programming of these things. And certainly, I got some threat from the city of Toledo about taxes, income tax, because of the Toledo mailing address. But, I think that's just their laziness of not verifying where I live. But
Well, all I'm saying is that I don't live in Toledo, and I'd like to be respected for where I live. And it makes a difference because it will save me money and my fellow citizens. So I would appreciate it if you would look at it. And I think that it's an important issue, and we could set a trend. I'm not afraid of that. I've done that before for our community when, with the tax issue for the school board, we were one of 3 that got it passed in the state. So people can do it if they care to, and I would appreciate it if you would look at it. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Gail. And thanks for living in the township too.
Thank you.
We had somebody that came in a few minutes late. Are you here to talk, here to speak tonight, ma'am?
No, I'm just here for my zoning change.
Okay. Speaking of that, yeah, your timing couldn't be better because we're about ready to talk about it. So Daryl, do you want to come up and discuss the zoning?
Good evening again. So my first item of business on here is the zone change request from C2 General Commercial to RA Low Density Residential for the property at 5629 Webster Road. Need to open the hearing for that.
Yes, I'll open the hearing up at 5:36 regarding a zone change from C2 to RA Low Density Residential at Webster, 5629 Webster Road.
Thank you. The property of 5629 Webster consists of a 9,000 square foot lot occupied by a 2,025 square foot, 2-story, single-family dwelling constructed in 1927. The property is bounded on all sides by other single-family dwellings, with those abutting to the north and west zoned RA, those to the east and south are zoned C2. The subject property is uniquely split, zoned with the northwest portion zoned RA and the southeast portion zoned C2 General Commercial. Sam, if you can go to the map that shows that. Yeah, keep going.
Down.
Yeah, right there. Go up a little bit, yeah. So you can see from that, this is a very strange and unique situation where the zoning boundary cuts diagonally right through the residential property, or residentially used property. It's been used as a residential dwelling and is harmonious with the neighboring parcels. So the applicant's requesting a zone change from C2 to RA in order to bring the zoning of the entire property into compliance with the use of the property. Additionally, the existing commercial zoning inhibits the current or future property owners from obtaining financing or refinancing of the dwelling. The land use plan recommends low, medium density residential uses for this area of the township. The corresponding districts are A3, RA, and R2. Lucas County Plan Commission and the Sylvania Township Zoning Commission both voted to recommend approval of the requested zone change. And zoning staff recommends approval of the zone change request from C2 to RA for the property at 5629 Webster Road for the following 3 reasons. The proposed zone change is compatible with the Sylvania Township's land use plan recommendation of low/medium density residential uses. The proposed zone change should not create an unreasonable adverse impact upon existing nearby properties. And the proposed zone change is compatible with the neighboring uses.
Okay. Any public opening. Is there anybody that would like to speak for or against this particular zone change? Okay, I'll close the public hearing at 5:38. Did I open the public? Yeah, we did, sorry. Any questions on the board?
No.
I'll offer resolution 24155, a zone change from C2 to RA, low residential development at 5629 Webster Road.
I'll second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Got your zone change. Thanks for coming tonight. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another public hearing that we're going to open up at 5:39. The text amendments, sections 1605, 900, 901, and 902 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution.
The zoning department's proposing amendments to two articles of the zoning resolution. Article 16, Board of Zoning Appeals. With the 2021 revision of the zoning resolution, sidewalk exceptions were introduced within the new section 1106 sidewalks, public. Exceptions to the installation of public sidewalks have previously been heard by the Board of Trustees per a resolution passed in 1999. With inclusion into the zoning resolution, request for this exception now appears before the Board of Zoning Appeals. This requested amendment is to add the sidewalk requirement exception to section 1605 exceptions. And this is just pretty much a housekeeping thing that
So Jill,
should have been caught when we,
so in the past, we've had projects, commercial projects where there's not sidewalks. And we've made an exception to the developer and or the business owner that would allow for sidewalks at a later date, but they're still on the hook to put the sidewalk in. So what you're saying here is you're just putting teeth to that conversation then.
well, it's already in our zoning resolution under sidewalks, but this is to put it under the BZA article to list
Okay,
what somebody can get an exception for
Got it.
from the BZA. Again, it's just a housekeeping thing. It should have been added in when we put the sidewalk thing in and.
Our last one was Yark Automotive on Central Avenue. There's Yark, but there's a neighborhood behind. Yark didn't, they're like, why do we need sidewalks if there's no sidewalks in there, period? So we gave them, said, hey, there'll be a day that may require it, but we're going to ask you to put that in if that's the case in the future. So any questions about, anybody like to speak for or against this project of the public hearing for these text amendments? Any questions of the board? I'll offer resolution.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
While we're still in the public hearing, can I just,
Oh, yeah, I forgot to close the
The other
public
one?
hearing. Yeah, good.
and then we can do both
Yeah,
resolutions?
absolutely. Good point.
So the second one is the Article 9, conditional use. In 2016, the trustees approved the addition of Section 902, review by Plan Commission, into Article 9 of the zoning resolution. No other townships in Lucas County required a review of conditional use requests by the Lucas County Plan Commission. So the proposed amendments to sections 900, 901, and 902 create the classifications of major and minor conditional uses and their respective requirements for review. The purpose of this amendment is to simplify the review and approval process for those conditional use requests that are proposing minimal, if any, significant development to the subject property. For example, buildings, impervious coverage, access drives, etc. And the Lucas County Planning Commission and the Sylvania Township Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval of both these requested amendments.
Anybody like to speak for or against the project or any insight? I'll close the public hearing at 5:42.
I have two resolutions. Resolution 24156 is to approve the amendment to 1605 of the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. This is the sidewalk one.
I'll offer resolution 24156, the approval of the amendment 1605.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Then the second one is Resolution 24-157, the amendment to sections 900, 901, and 902, and this is in regards to the conditional use.
Any questions from the board on this? I'll offer resolution 24-157, section 900, 901, and 902 of the Sylvania zoning resolution.
Second.
Okay, calling the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Daryl, my name's Neil, by the way, when you're up at the DS there. Call me Neil, it's fine. Not Mr. Mahoney, I work for a living too.
Yes.
Chairman. Okay. Do we have executive session, Oliver?
Most recent update, I would anticipate it may not be required, but certainly the board's pleasure.
Okay. Guys good with that?
Mhm.
I'll offer resolution to adjourn at 5:44.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Dunaway?
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming, Jeff.